Feel like crying, cry. Feel like cursing, curse, you know? But then that too shall pass.
Hello, everybody.
Oh,
Welcome to Novene C TV, and it's your girl, Novene C. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I have my aunt, Frances Garrett, and she is also the mother of Michelle Cusseaux. So she agreed to come here with me and talk to me. So thank you very much, Aunt Frances, for being here, and welcome.
And thank you for having me.
Of course,
Yes,
honey.
my pleasure.
Yes. So we are here in Phoenix because this is the first stop of the tour, my tour across the United States, interviewing my family and friends. And so now we will start talking.
Great,
So,
great.
So can I just ask you, like, your family dynamics? So you were married to my uncle.
Yes.
And you guys had
3 children, 3 kids in less than 2 years.
yes, you were busy.
Yeah. So that's how all of this got started. I married the oldest child in the family, oldest sibling in the Cusseaux family, and all 3 kids were the oldest nieces, nephews, and grandkids.
Yes, yes.
And as time has gone on, we are still very close-knit family. And through this reunion, we were united and had 3 children, 2 of which superseded us, David, in life. We lost our first child in 1984 due to a drive-by black-on-black crime in the Oakland, California area.
Yeah.
And we lost second child in 2014 due to a mental health pickup. She was murdered by the Phoenix Police Department.
Okay, so that was just a lot to say. Sorry that you have to go through that. And I can't even imagine that. So how do you deal with 2 of your children passing away, getting murdered?
Right. It's hard. In both instances, I fought to get justice for them. In the Oakland area, I fought, and we developed the task force in Oakland.
Oh, okay.
And so we went forward with that. That was a lot of hard work, trials and tribulations. And through that, we were fortunate enough to find the young men that had murdered my son. It was so happened the night that Edward was murdered, it was 3 other boys murdered, and none of the victims knew each other, the other victims, nor were the guys that murdered them, did they know them. It was something where earlier that day in the Oakland, California area, someone had done something to one of the guys' dogs. So the guys in retaliation went home, back to Berkeley, came back out to East Oakland to retaliate, and just so happened to see these 3 young men walking down the street in various locations, and none of the 3 that were shot, they were walking, one was walking down this way, the other one that way, and they just went by and shot them down like dogs.
Just randomly shot
Randomly shot them.
See, because I was only 9 when that happened, so I don't remember all the details of Edward getting murdered.
Right. And that was out in East Oakland. And how the men were apprehended, they hit the freeway left going back to Berkeley and ran a stop sign. It was just so ironic that the police were there and pulled them over. And just so happened to search the cars, took them, and took their weapons. It was about a month later, after doing ballistics, that they associated the murders in East Oakland with these guys and the guns
Right.
that they had confiscated.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So then you guys had to go to trial for that?
We went to trial for that, attended trial every day for about a month. And one of the guys who they picked up, he got out on bail. And while he was out on bail, he murdered someone else, his very close friend. And just to bring you up to date, backtrack some, the three that they shot that night, they killed two and wounded one.
Oh.
Yes, one boy survived. But like I said, one of the gentlemen that was involved in the shooting, he was able to make bail, and while he was out, he murdered someone else. So throughout those years, I have been going back and forth to court. The guys have been in prison for like over 30 years. And every so often, we have gone back for suitability hearings. One of the young men was murdered. Well, I'm not sure if he was in prison or not. One, after going back and forth to his proceedings in California, I became in agreement. I saw him grow and saw remorse for the things that he had done. And the last suitability hearing, I spoke up for him, for his release. I saw him grow, and I saw the trials and tribulations that he's gone through by being in prison over 30 years. In fact, we have the last one, he's in prison now, and I go to a suitability hearing next month. And in fact, he's the one that got out and murdered someone else. So I am not in favor of him ever being released from
Right.
prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because Edward was 21 when he
21.
passed?
All
Yeah.
of these were young boys,
Yeah.
and the way they grew up, understandable in the inner city, and lack of supervision and all. And like I said, one of the young men, he was killed in prison. The one, I saw him grow and saw him change. And I was in favor of his release, and like I said, it's one more left in prison. They were sentenced to life in prison, but California laws have changed throughout the years, and then they have become eligible for release. Yes.
Okay. Wow. So, were you at one of the suitability hearings when this all happened with Michelle?
After my son was murdered, my daughter started to have mental health issues. She and her brother were very close. And her mental health started to recline, started to go downhill. And since his death, she has had issues, mental health issues, depression, schizophrenia, and just mental health issues. And so this last time, throughout the years, she was bitter. But this last time I went, when I was in favor of the young man being released, she had come to terms and grips with him also being released. And it was just so happened while I was at this suitability hearing in California, my child who had the mental health issues, she was murdered by the Phoenix police who had went out on a wellness check for her. And I'm at one hearing for my son, and while I'm there, my daughter is murdered by the Phoenix Police Department. So that was something else again. another part of me was taken, and I just don't know how to. It's hurt,
Right.
pain, anger, just to experience a lot of feelings, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and but not to have her death be in vain. And during the time that she was murdered, it was another young black man murdered in Missouri,
Michael Brown.
Michael Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time in the chaos that was going on in Missouri, my daughter was murdered here in the Phoenix area, and I just said her death was not going to be in vain or to go unnoticed.
Right.
So what I did here after getting back, flying back to California and having to deal with uh, things that were going on here, I I just didn't know what to do. But I knew my daughter's death, she was going to be recognized.
Right.
And it needed to be known that not just were they murdering black men, they were also murdering black women.
Right.
So to get people aware of what was going on here, we started to protest and in small numbers, and to get the attention of the people here in the Phoenix area, I took her coffin and pushed it downtown. With me doing that, people started to notice, and it went worldwide on things that were happening here in Phoenix.
Right, because that was very controversial at the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Having the visual of her coffin. Where were you guys going, to the city hall?
I took taking it to City Hall.
Yes.
Yes, and let them know that things here needed to be known. You know,
Right.
that Phoenix, the majority of white, we had very few blacks here, and it was very few of us marching. And to know that what was going on in Missouri was a distraction from here.
Right.
But I just refused to allow my daughter's death to be in vain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember, even though I was 9, I remember Edward's funeral,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember that was my first and like only time I saw my father cry.
Okay.
And then I believe it was Michelle was like trying to take him out the coffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't imagine you, but you know, me as a little child, that was very traumatic.
Right. I'm not sure how I've gained the strength to go forward, but to fight for each one and not just allow their death to be in vain.
Right.
And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like losing your child and like you said, losing a piece of you, have you ever felt normal again? Like have you ever felt back to the normal Frances you were before this happened?
That would never happen.
Right.
No, no. A part of me is gone. And my boy's death, he was 21 years old, never married. It's just so much I feel that he's missed, you know,
Yeah.
and we were robbed.
Right.
That stopped the flow of the Cusseaux family and on our side.
Right.
I'm not sure if Edward had any other biological children or not. It's been controversial, but I'm not sure. But I know I will never see his growth that I know he had.
Right, right.
He was entitled to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would never see him walk down the aisle, never see him smile again.
Right.
And he had that smile, he had that kind of jovial personality, and he will forever be missed.
Yeah.
And forever loved and forever be missed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all your kids, well, all of us, we have big personalities, right? So, like, we're very memorable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
so, because I remember him, like, one of the last memories was at one of Brandon's birthday parties. out at the park in Oakland.
Okay,
Yeah, where they
okay.
had like a magician or something. And I just remember that because the magician had something that sliced a carrot, and
Uh-huh.
then it said, "Who wants to put their finger in there?" And my brothers both had their hands up, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
"No!" I was scared. But then I remember later being there with Edward and
Uh-huh.
talking to him. He's my older cousin, so I was just
Right,
like,
right.
"Oh," yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he was a character.
yeah.
He was a character, life of the party, and just a good guy. And it was just so ironic. David, his dad, was a merchant seaman, and Edward was murdered. 2 days later came his paperwork for him to go and sign on and to become a merchant seaman, following his dad's footsteps.
Right,
And we just never have that chance to see that happen.
right,
It's just so much.
right.
And just and it was just so ironic. Edward had just left my mother's house, going down the hill to take a friend of his, a young man, a friend of his who was blind, had left his jacket at my mother's house, and Edward was walking down to take the young man his coat
Wow.
and never to return home. And just these three kids, one walking down this way, another kid walking this way, and another one that way, and for them just all to be mowed down. Three, can you imagine that?
No.
And just shoot them down like dogs.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
So do you know the other families of the other victims?
One other family I had gone to school with.
Oh, wow.
And it's just so ironic. Larry lost two cousins because that was Larry's cousin, Jimmy Rideout,
Wow.
and Edward Cusseaux, and Larry was cousins to both. Yeah.
Wow.
So that family member lost two family
Yeah.
members that night.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so that's how the task force was developed in Oakland, to just stop these murders. And that got a lot of notoriety. We stayed on the news. We were just fed up. And a group of mothers that came together. And in fact, some of the other mothers went on and went to the White House.
Wow.
Yeah, they were able to go to the White House and talk with the president regarding these things that were happening in the Oakland, California area.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So when you were in the Bay Area when this happened to Michelle, somebody called you and let you know?
The police were there. It was a neighbor, Michelle's neighbor, who phoned me. And in fact, that day I had just spoke with Michelle. She was in a good mood, and we had laughed and talked. And just so happened about half an hour later, it was her neighbor who phoned me to let it be known that the police were there, and Michelle was in a good mood. They had went there, like I said, on a wellness check. Michelle refused. Her door was open, and she had her screen door, the security door, locked, but her door was open, and she had tools there because someone had tried to break into her home. She was changing the locks on her door. The police came to do a wellness check from a call from her case worker, her case manager, because she said Michelle seemed to have been upset because her ride did not come to take her to her medical appointment. So in the meantime, she was feared for Michelle's safety, and she called them to go out and check on her. Normally, if Michelle was having a bad day and off her medication, they would call me, and I would go over there or meet with them or something or another. But that day, her case manager called, and the police went. At that time, they were first responders. And that happened. They were talking with Michelle through the open door, and as somehow this the sergeant who is normally with this team, he was not on duty that day. They had a new sergeant from a different precinct come out.
Oh.
That sergeant, by Michelle's door being locked, her screen being locked, he ordered the police officers to use tools and open her screen door. And he says Michelle picked up a hammer. He says he feared for his life and shot her. And the other officers were there. I mean, he had 7 officers there with him, but he said he feared for his life and shot her.
7 officers for a wellness check
Yes.
for somebody who was in her home.
No
No
not
hostages.
loud. Right.
Didn't have a gun. Wasn't threatened to kill the neighbors or anything like that.
No. And he took it upon himself. The other officers were there talking with her, just trying to be sure. She was never loud. They said no, not boisterous, no profanity being used and all. And she just kept telling them she was okay and to call her mother.
Right.
She kept asking them to call her mother. And in fact, the neighbors were there. That's when they called me. I asked, could one of the officers come to the phone?
Yeah.
And they refused to come to the phone. In the meantime, this sergeant, he's there, he's irritated because they are taking too long to do whatever they were there for. And he took over instructing them to use tools to open her door. And he murdered my daughter. He was since found guilty of using excessive force, and so was the lady he instructed to open Michelle's door. They by using excessive force, and when it was not necessary, and with that, I started to, once again, not just to allow her death to be in vain, we implemented a new task force, intervention task force for people who had mental illnesses.
Yeah.
I felt the chief of police started to work with me. The attorney general came out to meet with me. Because of this incident, they knew changes needed to be made. And from that, changes were made. And I wanted more training for the police. And first of all, I did not want the police or the firemen being first responders on mental health pickups.
Exactly.
And I got that changed. And so the way we changed that, it was implemented to go out in plain clothes for people who had excessive training in mental health. And now we have someone, a doctor, to go out to intervene and to defuse situations.
Right.
Not just go out there ready to shoot because the person is experiencing whatever it is they're experiencing, but now we have people who are more trained to handle mental health situations.
Yeah.
So that is some good that came out of it, and since then, it's not have been any, there have been other deaths, but not like to that extreme.
Right.
Yes.
Right here in Phoenix.
Here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And this program, I feel, needs to go around, and few other cities have this, and they're using ours as an example of things to do.
Right. More cities, all the cities in the United States should use this as a model to respond to people who are in mental health crisis, because they shouldn't be murdered for something that's going on, in their mind that they can't.
They're ill.
Exactly.
And police should not be the first responders. And people fear, the average person feels, a policeman in a uniform. So now, I mean, this squad that we have go out in plain clothes, and they are 24 hours.
Oh, that's awesome.
24 hours around the clock.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so hopefully your efforts are saving other people's lives.
And have,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Serenity Crystals. Serenity Crystals sell all things energy healing. They believe that what you think is what you become. They make sure to keep their prices affordable so that everyone can have the opportunity to enjoy their products. They are big fans of Novene CTV, and they would love to extend a special offer to all my listeners. Use code word NoveneCTV to receive 15% off all their items in stock. Follow them on Instagram at Serenity_Crystals1111 or on Facebook at Serenity Crystal Candles.
So since then, in Michelle's memory, we have started to do a toy giveaway, a mental health fair and toy giveaway in memory of Michelle each year at Christmas. Michelle had no kids, but she loved children. She had no biological children, and she loved kids. And this is in to keep her memory alive.
Yes, yes.
And I'm doing this in collaboration with the Phoenix Police Department. And this, I believe this is our 7th year. And we do it in collaboration with the police department, and the chief of police has been our keynote speaker.
Wow.
Each year, the police come out and interact with the people in the community. I'm so embraced. I'm really embraced when I see them shaking hands. I want the police to introduce themselves to the kids and the community, and also the community to come up and embrace the police department.
See, that's amazing because some people will be so bitter and wouldn't want to deal with the police at all, especially the police department that were responsible for killing their child. So have you ever spoken to the police officer who killed Michelle?
No, no. I have not had come in contact with him. We were at a couple of the union meetings, and they would not allow us to have contact with each other. But he was put on administrative leave. He had been a sergeant 18 years on the force. So what they did was to demote him and gave him a desk job and allowed him to remain a policeman and retire. Okay? They took him off the street. I tried to get him fired.
Yes, of course.
And his benefits removed.
Yes.
But they did not do that. They allowed him, they demoted him and gave him a desk job and allowed him to retire with benefits.
So previously you said he was found guilty
He was found
of
guilty.
using excessive force, though,
Yes.
not of murder. But
Just
he was found guilty of using excessive force. So he didn't have to do any jail time.
None.
He kept his job, just got demoted, and kept all his benefits. So his family is good,
Yes.
while yours is torn apart.
Exactly, exactly. But since then, now laws have changed, and policemen have been charged with murders for incidents such as what happened to my daughter.
Right.
But that was a step forward for us to implement the squad for mental health. We have to take steps, small steps, in little increments.
Right.
And now today, police will be charged with murders.
Yeah.
And I've seen a change, and I'm still an advocate for our people, in which the police have murdered our people. My thing now is women. I'm with a group of women, and say her name, and this organization started in memory of Michelle as well. and say her name and keeping the murdered victims' names alive.
Yes, yes.
And to show that women, the same as men, are being murdered by the police department.
Right.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
large numbers.
And that's crazy. And that's also scary because after this happened to Michelle, like I would get anxiety when a police officer would get behind
Yes.
me.
Uh-huh.
Especially like when I'm with my kids.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm about to tear it. But yeah, so because it's like, dang, if they're having a bad day or something, or if they choose to, they can say that we were aggressive or something and just kill us and get away with it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that has happened. And with this group of women and mothers that I'm associated with, we have found the majority of women have been murdered in their homes, in front of their kids, in front of their loved ones. Because when the policemen come out, they don't see us as women and damsels in distress. They see black women, African American women, as a man. They don't view us as weak and fragile.
As feminine.
And feminine. They don't see us as the damsel in distress. You know, and the majority of women that have been murdered in their homes. And it's sad to say, but stats have proven that. And they just don't view us. They view us as black. They fear us as they do men. Yeah, and just like this police officer, he said this statement, he said he opened the door, he saw a black woman. I'm wondering when he opened my daughter's door, what did he see? But he said it was the look in her eyes that he feared. He didn't know her. That was fear of him breaking in her home. You know, I don't know what he saw.
Right. When I read that, when he said that, that made me so mad. Because, first of all, you can say anything, right? Because she's not here. But because he said it was like either a crazed look or a demonic look. He said something like that.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but I was like, she was having a mental health crisis, and then you guys are breaking into her house.
Yes.
So I didn't understand what he was saying. And how did you fear for her life when you're breaking into her house? If you fear for your life, usually like you should get back, right?
Right,
Instead of going towards and shooting.
Right.
And then how many times did he shoot her?
Just shot her in the heart. Shot her once in the heart. And, but the look, he says the look that she has, I don't know. And by Michelle having the short hair, dressed in, I'm not sure, but he just viewed her as a black man and not as a damsel in distress. He didn't see her as a female. He didn't see her as being white, blonde hair, blue eyes, and reaching out to her.
Right.
First thing he did was pull his gun and shot her in her heart. You know?
Yeah.
And said she picked up a hammer. Well, picked up a hammer how? You know?
Right.
That's what he says.
And he
we
said
don't know
in a
that.
chopping motion. She was coming towards him using a chopping motion with a hammer. Yeah.
And none of the other ones were feared. And no other weapons were pulled.
Right.
So he was the only one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is like difficult, and you know, I don't see how you still find joy. I'm glad that you do, because you have a big personality, a big loving, bubbling personality.
I
So
just still feel her here with me.
Yeah.
Both kids, I keep her name alive.
Yeah.
I keep her alive, you know, and it's a good thing. And to know that she was here, she did live, she was a living person, a human being. And I just try and keep her name alive. And this has helped me to keep my sanity.
Right.
And the work that I've done keeps me going to prevent this from happening to others. I do have support of other mothers who have lost their loved ones, their daughters, their sisters. Uh, we have a support team, and like I said, once again, it's Say Her Name. And we come together a couple of times a year to embrace, to support, to love on each other,
Right.
you know? And that is so important. And when this continues to happen, we're in like a sisterhood, but this is a club I wouldn't want anyone to have to become a part of, because that means that we have lost another person by the hands of the police, that
Right.
have been murdered by the hands of the police. And it's a sisterhood that I embrace, but I wouldn't want any other person to have to experience this and become a member of this sisterhood.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone who is struggling with losing a child and may feel like they can't talk to anybody in their immediate family or friends?
Well, when these incidents happen, someone from our group will go out to that area and meet with the family and to kind of let them know and see where they are and kind of guide them in things to do, immediate things to do, and people to contact
Okay.
and get the help that they need. And we support them throughout. We're not sure if they're having financial difficulties, what kind of difficulties that person is experiencing. But give you a little bit, a brief synopsis on Michelle. She was the life of the party,
Yes.
happy-go-lucky, and loved people, loved family.
Yes.
She loved her family. It just a people person. And we laugh now about things that she might have said,
Yeah.
things that she would do. And like I said, just to keep her alive. And I do have, what keeps me going is so many good memories.
Yes.
And she was my road dog. We traveled a lot. And she was a mama's girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just fun. Life of the party, a giver. Michelle was a kind person and would give you a person the shirt off her back, give you her last. And for all of that to have been taken away, that's a lot. I don't know if that's not being, I don't think I'm being selfish by missing her in that perspective.
Right.
But I miss that for her being here, helping, and I just miss her.
Right.
And like I said, a piece of me that I just left a hollow something inside of me, a hollow feeling. And to have two kids gone, I don't know how I do it.
Right.
I really don't know, but I just stay busy so I don't have to think about it.
Right.
I work from can to cane, and I just stay busy. I stay busy interacting with others and just doing all I can.
Yes.
And that's what keeps me going. Some people grieve differently. Some go into a shell mode. Some people become very angry. I wouldn't give the police the satisfaction of being angry. I'm going to get you another way. I'm going to work with you, and you're going to change what it is that you do. And it was a blessing. Like I said, they came to me. The Attorney General came to me. And in fact, Michelle was murdered on the 14th. Her birthday, 14th of August, her birthday was on the 17th. I went on, had her birthday party, and the Attorney General came to the house and came to that celebration for her.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew I had them on my side.
Yeah.
Because they knew their police department was wrong, and they were reaching out and willing to do. And how we came up with this intervention squad was they asked me, working with me and asking me what was it I wanted.
Okay.
And how did I view changes? What could they do? And they wanted to hear it from me by
Right.
being the mom who lost the child.
Right.
And I appreciate that. And so grateful for that.
Yes.
And so that's how it was that we moved forward
Yeah.
and to make things happen and changes.
That's good.
Hmm.
And that's good that God put it on your heart to do that, right? Because
Yes,
you could walk around
yes.
just bitter and
Right,
angry. And,
right.
Yeah.
I just chose to kind of reach out and help others
Right.
and to prevent them from a death, a violent death like that, from being murdered by the hands of the police. These are the people who are to serve and protect. Now, how can you serve and protect? My child is going through a crisis mode, and you're here to help her, but when you leave, she's dead. You know, that says a lot for the police department, but they were willing to reach out and see where they could change and did that.
Yeah.
And to generate additional trainings and willing to implement this intervention squad.
Yeah.
And it's still a lot of work to be done. Like you said, it's one bad apple. And like when I'm out in the community, these people, the police department, these are people who are mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles. And this is it. This is just a job. And I try and share that with the people in the community, and the two need each other. We need them, they need us. And it should just be no hostility because they have on a uniform. They are, the majority of them do protect and serve. And it's just something that we're going to have to come together with, grips with. And like I said, it's they need us and we need them. Yeah.
So you were talking about like being in the community. Have you ever thought about what you would say like if you were at the grocery store and you ran into the police officer who did this to Michelle?
I wouldn't know him.
Oh, you don't know what he looks like or anything?
I've just blanked him out.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to even know him.
Okay.
I know where he lives. I mean, all this information was privy to me, and I just don't choose to do that.
Right, right.
Mm-mm.
That's good.
No, because then he could harm me, fearing for his life, thinking I'm hounding him to
Right.
harass him or to do something to him.
Right,
So I don't mean to put myself in harm's way.
right, right. They've done enough.
They have done enough, and it's okay. He has to live with that. He has to live with that and meet his maker.
Right.
And knowing that he was found guilty of using excessive force and took a young lady's life, you know, took a person's life
Right, right.
when
A
it
big
was
part of our
not
family.
necessary.
Right.
Yeah, and he has family members.
Right.
And I do believe in God, and I know there's a just God. God is a just God.
Right.
So it's not up to me.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
I can sleep at night.
Good.
You
That's
know,
good, yeah.
I sleep at night. I don't fear him. I would not allow that man to have that much control over me.
Right.
And my emotions and fearing this and just hostility and walking around with a bitter heart.
Right.
No, I won't allow that.
For anybody who are going through anything like this, if their loved one has been murdered by the police, first of all, we're sorry that that's still happening. But we will have links below this video for you to contact people in your area. And also, if you are out there and you're dealing with the loss of your loved one, especially a female, then you can reach out to the Say Her Name and
Sure.
find support for you, because you don't want to have to go through this by yourself. There
No.
are other people out there, like my auntie, who will embrace you and have a support system. And so
For the whole family.
yes,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then also for those wish to come out our yearly event and who wish to contribute to that.
Right. Okay. So give that information.
Okay,
We're
I'll
gonna
give
put
you.
it at the.
I'll
in the-
give you that as well to put
Okay.
on the credits.
Oh,
Or
sure.
put on something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
'cause
the
we have
link
a
will be in the
website.
description to where you can donate to the toy drive that they have in December for Michelle Cusseaux, and all the information will be below the video. Also, I always ask my guests if they have any questions for me. So do you have a question that you want to ask me?
Okay, well, like I said, I'm glad that to be invited for this interview. But now, how did you get started in doing this?
Okay, thank you. So I started this by, you know how I was just in college, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm 49 years old now, but I went to college later in life, and I'm a single mom with 3 sons and now grandmother. And I was just like going through a transition, changing, you know, from the career that I had before to becoming a college student. And then I also saw like Jamila was in college, my sister.
Uh-huh.
One of my best friends, Karen, was in college. They were like changing careers.
Okay.
And so people in their 40s were doing other things. And I thought that was inspiring. And so I wanted to like share inspiring stories, and also people who have been through things, who are overcoming them, to let people know that, like, basically, you know, life, shit comes at you in life, right?
Exactly.
So it depends on how you deal with it, and you can make it through. And so whether it's like you know, losing 2 children, but you're focused on keeping their name alive and still moving forward. And then, you know, me, you know, my son's father was murdered, and I had to deal with that with my son, but still trying to raise him to be a happy,
Right.
loving human.
And not just go through life being bitter.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you see how he is. He's 15 now, and he's doing well. And so,
And then you've experienced it twice with his dad, and you have a grandbaby who lost her mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's a lot.
So yeah, so we're just trying to show people that you can still do all the things that you want to do in life. You can still, it's hard,
It is.
but you can still make it. You just have to keep getting up. You have to keep trying
And want to.
and want to.
Want
yes.
to.
And also try to surround yourself with a positive support group. I just wanted to like share, and then my nieces kind of encouraged me to do a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And so I was like, what? I didn't think that I had that much to talk about. And now you can't shut me up. But then I was
That's
like,
great.
all my family members around me and friends, we have so much to talk about. So I haven't even really had to go outside of my immediate people that I know yet, because everybody has like inspiring or like
unique stories.
unique stories that can encourage other people who are going through things. Yeah.
That's so true. Well, it's a good thing. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes. And to take time out, you know, and to do this. It's more than a notion.
Yeah.
But it gives a person a chance to get it up and out.
Right.
And perhaps they have wanted to, did not know where to or how to do this, and to get it up and out and share their feelings and expose their emotions.
Right.
You know, some people just need to get it up and out. You feel like crying, cry. Feel like cursing, curse, you know. But then that's too shall pass. Whatever means you choose to do that and to make yourself feel better, then do it.
Right. As long as you're not hurting other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or yourself.
Or yourself. Exactly. And that's why I feel like talking about stuff, it kind of helps. It makes you a little lighter. It's therapeutic. And then you might not even realize all the people that you can help in the process.
Yeah. And to let them know they could have been experiencing this and not having anyone to share it with. But then they see they're not alone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important.
And that's a great something.
Yes.
Okay, appreciate you, my dear.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you. Okay, wait. So before she gets up, Okay, thank you everybody for listening. And like I said, the links are below. And thank you for listening to my aunt, Fran Cusseaux, tell her story. And she'll be back on later talking about other topics because she has so much to offer. And thank you everybody for listening. I'm wishing you peace, love, and light. Bye.
Michelle Cusseaux, say a name. 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 Michelle Cusseaux, 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 say a name. Say a name. Say a name.